guys, welcome back to Tumbler Creek Bees and More. I have doubled. Look at this. I've got my friend Jason Williams here from church.
Hello.
And we are excited. I'm so excited to have him here, man. He's kind of like me. He's a newbie. He's a new beekeeper. In fact, he hasn't had bees, but he's been studying them. He's got tons of knowledge. And by the way, he's a lot more brave than me, you'll see. You can see his lovely face. My face needs to be covered up.
He's brave or just stupid.
Yeah, he's a lot more cool than me because he looks cool. You cover this face up. That face, you got to keep it looking good.
If you can't see it, there's no money to be made.
There it is, right there. He's my money maker. I told my kids that I'm an influencer now because we had like 150, 160 views. I really believe with Jason Williams, we're going over 200 now.
Hey, we might hit the bank.
There it is.
Autographs next Sunday.
Hey, just feel free. Make the line orderly though. Keep it orderly.
Yeah, if it's crazy, we're out.
That's right. We're done.
Be leave it.
So, all right. So today, Jason, what we're gonna do is I popped in this about a week ago, and it was way more full of bees than I thought it was gonna be. So we're gonna look at it again. I'm gonna just check a couple frames, just kind of make sure we've got what I think we have in there, which is gonna be larvae that we've seen evidence that the queen is working. I have still not got the skills to find the queen. Someday.
I can do it on still pictures.
Yeah.
But that's nothing like when they're moving.
It's the people who can do that in like 5 minutes amaze me. Someday we'll get there.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to check for evidence of them. That means we're going to look for larvae. We're going to look for like little tiny grains of rice, maybe some covered brood. So if we see those things, and if we see mainly full, like I think it's going to be, we're going to go ahead and add the super that I left up at the house. So we may have to take a break here in just a second to go get that, but that won't take a second. Anyway, we'll add the super, add the queen extruder. Let's break in. I'll pop this thing open. But we'll take the whole top feeder off.
It's really neat. There's hundreds of bees in that feeder.
It is crazy. It is crazy. They drank 6 pounds of sugar this week.
What are you even to do, Steve? I'm all hands. I was talking to some guy, I don't even know his name, but he's from Atoka. And he's been keeping bees for like 30 years. So
Wow.
he's telling me that for every, I don't know, the ratio was huge. For every, I don't know, for every 2 pounds of sugar water, they make like so much fewer honey.
Oh, honey. Yeah.
The ratio is crazy.
They got to eat a bunch to make some a little bit of honey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you want to smoke them? And I'll open it. If you want.
Put it in the front or the side?
Back here. Well, if you don't mind, if you want to put just a little bit at their entrance. We don't really want to chase them all in there, but it calms them down a little bit. Sorry about that. I need to weed eat. There's a couple deals, and then what I'll do is he'll come back right back here where you see that crack.
So at this point, the wind really was picking up, so we couldn't hear the audio very well. Lots and lots of wind. So basically what we're doing here is Jason is smoking the hive for me, putting some smoke along the top of the frames. You can see what that does is all those bees that have kind of collected, they work upwards. So all those bees that have collected on the top of the frames, he's smoking those things so they'll go back down into the hive better. That way we can inspect each frame itself without losing bees falling out of the hive. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just one at a time going through the frames. If you look at Jason, he is a nut. The guy's got no veil on. He's got no bee suit on. He's just wearing some gloves. But man, what a pro. He is a stud. But anyway, I'm just looking at these things one at a time. What I'm looking for here is brood. I'm looking for little larvae. I'm looking for things that look like a grain of rice, which is basically an egg. And all these are signs that the queen is laying eggs, that the queen is active. And I'm actually finding that. I'm also looking to see how full these frames are of active bees. So I've got 9 frames in there. So I'm going to look at each one a little bit front and back. And if I see that about 70–80% of that thing is full, then I know it's time to put a super on to give those bees more room to grow, for the hive to grow, for the colony to grow, because all those eggs are going to be being laid, and that means more bees. So if we add that super on, that gives them more room to expand. Now here's the thing: what are these newbies going to do? They're gonna move up the hive into that new super, and the super is really where we're going to see honey production. That's where we're going to get the honey for us. All the honey that's made in that brood box that I'm looking at right now, it's for the bees. It's where they eat. It's where they live. It's where they have babies. Once I put the super on, you'll see here in just a second, that's where we're going to look at honey. I'm going to go back into the audio of the regular audio after this. I'm about to go get the brood box, or I'm sorry, I'm about to go get the super, and then we'll take a look and see what happens there.
You know, this is really cool. Me and Jason were talking about how cool these are. This is a queen excluder. What we're gonna do is, can you guess what we're gonna do with a queen excluder?
We're gonna do something involving the queen.
We're gonna exclude the queen. We're gonna leave her where she belongs, which is down here in the brood box. What the brood box is, it's where she lays eggs, they hatch, they feed the eggs, they feed each other. That is what that bottom box of any beehive you see is gonna be. The next one is called the super. And I really think they call it the super because honey is, I'm not even gonna say it, that's
Super
horrible.
good.
That is horrible, but thank you for going with me on it. They have studied these little holes in the screen are big enough to allow the worker bees through. They go in between the two boxes, but they're small enough to not allow or exclude the queen from getting through. So we don't want the queen in the upper boxes because you know why? We want honey.
That's where your honey is.
We don't want, yeah.
You don't want eggs in your
We don't want baby bees. We don't want all that junk. We want pure honey. So we're going to keep the queen down where we want her, and we're going to do that by a queen excluder. So I'm gonna try and chase some of these guys down. So we don't want to squish bees when we put new stuff on. Here we go. Perfect. Oh, that's perfect. And you know, it's almost impossible not to squish a bee or two. But I'll lay that excluder down. I'm gonna take a box. This is just like the box I showed the other day, hollow on the bottom. It's just a little bit shallower. Actually, it's a medium-sized box versus the deep. And it's pretty simple. All I'm gonna do is set it down on there. And it's ready to go. I mean, that's just really all there is to it, literally.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right?
Super simple.
Super simple.
Bees work up, so this gets full, they'll absolutely work up and start putting our edible honey in these little 6-inch frames. See, these are,
And there's already foundation on there. And because I've used this before, there's actually a little bit of honeycomb on there, drawn comb, which will help matters.
yes,
And
they reduce, reuse, and recycle.
exactly. So that's pretty awesome. So, and usually you don't want to put a feeder on there when you have the super on there, but because I just put some new food in there, I'm going to put it in there for a few days. I think it'll help them draw up through there. I'll put it on there till it's empty, and then I'll take it off and I'll just put the top back on it without the feeder. And I'll show you the inner cover at some point when I do that. But basically, I'll take the feeder off, put the top right on top of this, and then they'll be feeding themselves. I like to put bricks on there just to, with this wind and with a little bit of weight.
With
It's
the
kind of
Oklahoma
helpful.
weather, the bricks are essential.
Boy, they are.
I've yet to see it in a hive in Oklahoma that doesn't have some kind of weight.
Oh yeah, you gotta have. Oh, I've got my brick holding the camera up, but that's pretty much it. And hopefully, I'm gonna leave this alone. Chase and I were just talking about this earlier. How hard it is to leave them alone because they're so exciting, they're so interesting to look at. I have a hard time doing that.
Probably 200, 300 bees right here on the entrance, and
Yeah.
that aren't knowledgeable or understand bees, that's a frightening scene. You know, you're thinking, oh my gosh, you grew up watching My Girl, and
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin going in the ground was kind of, terrifying. But this right here, that's a beautiful sight.
They're just being bees.
Yeah.
That's just what they do. In the summertime, when it gets really hot, you'll see this. and they'll actually do what's called bearding. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where they'll hang on each other and they'll just hang off the front edge of this, and it's the way they keep their hive cool. They keep themselves cool, but they'll sit at the front of that hive flapping their little bee wings, and it cools the hive off. It's a way to keep climate control, but it's really cool. You'll see that this summer as the hive continues to grow, but it really is a pretty cool deal. You can see some of those bees with little, well, on their little legs, you see bright yellow. That is some bright yellow pollen they've gathered. They're taken back to the hive to eat and do those kind of things. There's pollen and nectar. Nectar is actually what they use to make the honey. Pollen, they'll eat some of it. They'll use it for wax, use it for all different kind of things. But the difference between pollen and nectar, pollen is dry, nectar is liquid. But you can see that pollen, that means they are working. And they're a little bit freaked out right now because we just opened the top of their house off, and you know, people don't like it when you do that. So anyway, now we've got a super, so it's a super day at Tumbler Creek. We've got a feeder on here for a few days. These guys have just been here for a few days, so I'm not going to mess with them till probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week before I check and make sure the queen's doing her thing. Jason, I want to thank you. Man, I appreciate you coming by and hanging out with me. And like,
having me over.
oh man, it's been awesome. Hopefully soon we'll be at your place and installing some bees and doing all kinds of fun stuff like that. And next week I'm gonna actually be a guest at somebody else's house. I'm not gonna say any names, but he is a pharmaceutical guy whose name rhymes with critter. You guessed that. Anyway, we're looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun. And again, from Jason Wims, from Steve, we'll see you later. Tumbler Creek Bees. Bye-bye.